All right, hello friends, and welcome back to the Gaming Dad Fujo podcast. This is episode number 13, being recorded on November 30th, 2023. I am Fujosovich, former professional Hearthstone player, currently working as an analytical chemist in the pharmaceutical industry. This is a place where we talk about all of the gaming and gaming-related things that we used to talk when I was streaming and gaming and uploading basically daily and streaming 3-4 times a week. And on this episode, we will be talking about World of Warcraft Season of Discovery, the Gaming Awards Indie nominations, Zero Punctuation, and of course, Snoop Dogg. Let's get started. He's got no time to play video games. He's the gaming dad, Fujo. Nailed it. All right, let's get right into everything we're talking about today. Lots and lots of topics. We're still kind of catching up from that massive extended 7-month break that we kind of took before last episode, but we're now officially every other Friday. We will be posting on the YouTube. Subscribe and hit the bell so you get the notifications. Like and rate us if you're downloading on podcasts, everywhere you find your podcasts, other than iTunes, because I'm not a big Apple user, so that's still a work in progress, but that's okay. So what else happened since the last time we've spoken? I played a bunch more Tears of the Kingdom. It's really hard to talk about such an old game. I still don't have all of the map discovered. It's just the more I play it, the more that there is to discover in that game, and it's so cool that I'm still going in blind. I try to go into most games blind, not reading things up ahead of time. No spoilers on movies either for me. But it's a ton of fun, and we're going to stop playing it for a little while because World of Warcraft Season of Discovery is going live actually today. The day of this recording, when this gets uploaded, it'll be yesterday, but that's fine. We all know how time works. Servers are going live at 4 p.m., which originally wasn't great because, I tend to work way past 4 p.m. We're going to the plan is I'm going to have probably some gameplay uploaded either in the background of the YouTube video portion of these podcasts, just to show probably some PvP stuff. That's probably what I'm going to be doing most of. They were leaked 4 North American servers. I'll be playing on a PvE one. Apparently the only PvE is going to be West Coast. I'm on the East Coast of North America, so my ping's going to be a little higher, but that's okay. We'll still survive. It'll probably, with current internet, it doesn't matter as much. It'll be a little bit slower. I don't love that the only PvE server's West Coast, but what are you going to do? That's going to be fine. It looks like a lot of new ruins, which is the big mechanic in Season of Discovery to discover. They augment in your current abilities, give you new abilities that we've seen in other expansions. A lot of them have been data mined, and the only add-on I really use is Questy. And Questy's not going to be spoiling where the runes are, because some of the runes you get through regular quest givers, and some you just have to discover, hence the name Season of Discovery. So that's going to be really, really interesting. The plan is probably Shaman, surprise, surprise, and Mage. I'll get them both to level 10. Level 10 on the old hardcore, so I know I've talked about hardcore WoW for over a year now, I think. There's an achievement when it was back in the add-on before the official servers to get level 10 in less than 2 hours. I don't think I ever did it. I think I got 2 hours, 10 minutes on a rogue once, but never fully under 2 hours. But level 10 is very quick. So I'll probably get a mage and a shaman to level 10 and then decide what we're going to do with PvP and see how everything feels and all that. I'm really excited for this. It's going to be really interesting because classic WoW is solved. Everyone knows warriors are the best DPSers in raids. We know how PvP basically works because there's all these cool engineering items and all this stuff. But it's basically quote unquote solved. So first there's the level brackets where we know when the servers go live, 25 is the max level that you can get to. So that also changes things. I know everyone's theory crafting and thinking about it. And it's cool because let's take Mage, for example. At level 25, you get rank 5 Fireball, but you're stuck at rank 4 Frostbolt. So you know what I mean? So if you're trying to be Ice Mage at level, which I know you only have a few talents to work with, but it's just kind of interesting how that mechanic is going to work. And then the other cool thing for PvP, because that's probably what I'll focus on, I'll probably try and do the raids maybe. I like the idea of being shaman as well because then they can tank, because the runes are allowing shamans to be tanks and rogues can tank and warlocks can tank. So hopefully there's more tanks. Tanks are always going to be in demand, always needed. But the other cool thing, because we'll probably focus more on PvP, hence shaman and mage, I like to one-shot people, and those are the two classes that get to do it. They have removed honor decay, which I'm not going to go into the old classic WoW honor system, but it's tough and it's greasy and it's hard to do. But it's going to be interesting because now there's no honor DK. So if you want to PvP a couple weeks and go away and do something else, then you can come back again and it's fine. Now, to go from rank 13 to 14, you still need, apparently the people have done the math, you need 420,000 honor in a week. So that's a lot. Obviously, if you want to try and do this, you have to, and you're not just all day, all night gaming, because again, gaming dad hours, I'm not expecting rank 14 on any at all, even with this system. But you do it on a Alterac Valley weekend, and it probably helps a bit. You can get the most honor the fastest there, but that's okay. So that's the plan. There's no name reservations, but that's okay. I'll still get my troll shaman named Thex, and that's going to be fine. If you are interested in playing with me, I will be, like I said, whatever the North American PvE server is. If there's East Coast, that's where I'll be. If the only server does end up being West Coast, fine, I'll deal with a 70 or 80 ping. It's still good enough. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I used to play on WoW with 200 all the time. People still play 300 and 400, and it's fine. All right, what is the next topic? Snoop Dogg quitting. We were gonna have an emergency Gaming Dad Fujo episode last week when this news came out. Snoop Dogg, I've decided to, after much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. Of course, this was publicity to get people talking about Snoop. He has a smokeless fire pit. I'm not getting it. Nope. Here's the thing. It's probably a cool item. I'm not getting it. I want a nice fire pit. Throw some lumber in there. You can do it. You can do it and get pretty smoke-free fire, natural fire. Obviously, this wasn't Snoop quitting any sort of cannabis use, and even if it was going to be a Woody Harrelson joke where, he's like, well, he's not smoking, but there's other ways to get his cannabis. So, obviously, publicity. I wish we'd had this the episode come out in time where I could have called it ahead of time, but that's fine. Shout out to Snoop for constantly being able to be in the current topic. What else happened? Some cool other gaming news. Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda, turned 25 years old. November 21st. So that happened between these past two episodes, 1998, solid year. We know that was that's one of those considered all-time great games, in my opinion as well. And you're talking about all-time considered great games. Super Mario RPG Remake came out for the Nintendo Switch. Originally, so that was released on the 17th. Oh shoot, did I write down when it was originally released? Oh no, I didn't. How embarrassing. 27 years old. That's all I wrote. So 27 years ago. That's pretty good. So overall, this game, again, is considered one of those classic era with Ocarina of Time, considered a classic RPG along with Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, that whole era, that sort of thing. Which again, I love. I have my Final Fantasy 3 poster, North American 3, real Final Fantasy 6 poster up beside me. I've got my stitched Final Fantasy 1 characters right in front of me. I'm a huge fan of that era of gaming. What a surprise. And we've talked about it a ton. But this game, it's a remake. And people are kind of confusing remakes versus remasters. Were the assets fully remade? Were they just modified? That sort of thing. So it's really cool that this game came out. That it's, we're getting the partnership with, a couple of the characters, Gino and Malo, or I think they're owned by Square. That's the way it worked. And they were never included. I know people always ask for them to be in Smash Bros. And stuff because Smash Bros. Does this great. Anyone who's partnered with Nintendo tries to get characters in there. And there's been issues with DLC paint, blah, blah, blah. We're not getting into this whole Smash Bros. Thing. We can talk about that more in detail later. You can look it up yourself if I don't get back to it. But it'd be cool if they can get in at some point into Smash. I don't know if there is going to be a next generation Smash. I haven't had any time to play, and that's too bad. But Ocarina of Time, 25 years old, Super Mario RPG, 27 years old, and getting a remake, super cool. Definitely interested in that. That's just one of those cool things, cool gaming things. Speaking of some classic gaming things, and this is really classic early internet thing. There's a show called Zero Punctuation that started in 2007 by a character named Yahtzee. And his whole thing was very fast, little rapid fire delivery of humorous and a little vulgar based reviews of current games and then sometimes older games as well. Very popular. Definitely, like I said, 2007. That's early, like internet, before we knew what internet memes were. Like there was it's hard to describe. I know we've talked about this before. It's hard to describe some of the early internet things. Like there were internet shows that we've talked about and watched, like Pure Ownage, before we knew what internet shows were. It was just people like, hey, this is a cool thing. I'm going to put it online and see what happens. Whereas now people have the expressed intention of like, I'm going to make an internet show. I'm going to make a YouTube channel, a stream to do X, Y, or Z. So it's really interesting when you go back and I was there, like at the early internet stages of people doing these silly things on these silly websites and seeing them grow, in this case, continuing until Zero Punctuation was discontinued on November 6th, 2023. So since the last time we've spoken. And there was some firing of the editor, and then Yahtzee quit on the same day. And what's going to happen? They're leaving. They were working under the banner of The Escapist, and then they left. And then they put out a new video, very similar form of doing fast-paced reviews of current titles under the title Fully Ramblonic, which is very interesting. Apparently, that was the original show that Yahtzee made originally before they signed with The Escapist. So it's a really cool piece of internet. I say like it's a piece of internet history because it's become so iconic that other internet things, other internet shows, other people who are on the internet doing whether historian work or other gamers or streamers or however you want to talk about it, are aware of Zero Punctuation and the impact that it had. And that's really cool to see it continue. It stinks whenever there's big corporation. I know sometimes we talk about corporate, we talk about corporate greed and all that sort of stuff with distribution of wealth, all that. We don't know the inner workings of this. We know someone was fired, and then we know someone quit, and they got back together, and they're able to continue to do their interesting, creative thing in their own way. Online, which is really great. It's definitely a little vulgar though, so warning for that if you're gonna go ahead and look into it. What else is an interesting topic I want to get into right now? The Gaming Awards indie game nominations. This is kind of interesting because again, when you talk about big companies and stuff like that, hey, look at this. Everything's kind of flowing this episode. It's almost like I planned this one out smooth, right? Oh wow, I'm really getting good at this. We should look for sponsors. If you're interested, I could pretend to sell something for you right now. Let's say, you know what time it is? If you had this fantastic new watch designed by company XYZ, you would know and be stylish. Boom. $75,000 contract, please. Okay, Gaming Awards, indie game nominations. What happened is there's a game called Dave the Diver, and it got nominated for the Indie Game of the Year. The problem is, it's owned by a developer whose parent company is Nexon. If you're not aware of Nexon, they published MapleStory. If you're not aware of MapleStory, it's a massive, massive game. In 2022, they had 70,000 employees and $350 million of revenue. So there's an argument now. Obviously, let's take a look at this both sides, right? We're scientists here. I started, I'm an analytical chemist. You want to take a look at what happens here. So there's a subsidiary who probably is a reasonably small quote. I'm doing quote unquotes. You can't see because I'm not streaming this with the camera on. I'm doing quote unquotes of small development team who made Dave the Diner. And you can say, well, they are an independent styled development group, company, however you want to think about it. And indie's now kind of, it's more about the feel, the target audience, the art style. I don't know why I don't like the word aesthetic, but it's about the aesthetic. And it's very similar to how some people look at craft beer. Well, there are, again, $10 million, $100 million companies making quote unquote craft beer. And so now it's kind of this thing that large companies, they'll make these new development groups as fully owned by, in this example, by Nexon, and say, well, we're an indie developer. And so it kind of blurs the lines of like, is our indie games actually supposed to be, me and a couple buddies in our garage trying to like make this super cool game that, we're just trying to get out? Or is this the way that it's going to be done? And it's, people online got into like, well, it's, indie, like we said, the same thing with craft beer. It kind of becomes commodified of this genre. You can look at indie music, right? You can say again in indie music and indie movies, they're oftentimes owned by, you're going to have MGM funding indie movies, but really if MGM's funding it, they, how many movies have they done with Brad Pitt at the same time? They're funding a Brad Pitt movie and they're funding this low budget quote unquote indie film. Is it still indie or is it not? So it's kind of interesting. I don't think it's necessarily, there's no, people like, it's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's companies. In this case, this example, Nexon, there's dozens of others we can look up if you want to. I don't mean to keep picking on them, just as this is the story that got the ball rolling, right? There's lots of other companies that do this because, companies are out there to make money and all of that. And, and therefore they do create jobs and all that sort of thing. And so it's kind of it's become this halfway between, right? Every game, you always hear these big games. This is a AAA game, meaning the highest quality. And there's no AA anymore, right? It just becomes you're either a AAA game or you're an indie game. And there's no in-between blurring anymore. So there is a lot of money in these indie games. Like look at, and it's hard to, it's so hard now to have it be genuine. But if you do, like I think the Flappy Bird example was one person, I believe, programmed, and then a tragic story. So we're not going to get into that. It's very sad. But it becomes in this case of a big company really tightrope walking what is, if they have hundreds of millions to invest potentially into a massive game versus, well, you can kind of invest significantly less and have a really high quality game because you have the resources of a massive company, but still have that cool indie vibe and still generate a lot of revenue. It just becomes this really interesting blurring of the lines of what this industry is. And I think this is a super cool topic because and again, it comes up like in beer, it comes up in what is real indie music? Is your like small, record label still owned by, Sony or whoever, really indie or not? So it's really interesting and touches on so much. I don't know. They have to decide how they want to define what is indie, right? Like these if there's going to be a quote unquote gaming award for indie games, define what makes it indie. Does it be that developing house? Does it be you can't be owned by a massive company? We got to figure it. I thought it was really interesting. Really, really interesting topic. Oh yes. Now this is going to be, I believe, one of our final Gaming Dad Fujo topics of the day. Wow, we're actually flying. I'm very excited for this right now. This is a very Toronto-based, Ontario, Toronto-based, but I think it's kind of interesting. There's an iconic furniture store called Bad Boy in Southern Ontario that has filed for bankruptcy. This made the news, and they had this classic catchphrase. They would do their commercials, showing their furniture. Oh, come by Bad Boy, come by Bad Boy, and they'd wear like a jailhouse uniforms, the black and white stripes, and say, "Well, who's better than Bad Boy? Nobody." And it was iconic. It was iconic, and the founder of it actually became the mayor of Toronto. Mayor Mel Lastman for many years, and he passed away in 2021 at 88. Continued with the family, and it's this iconic thing that has now filed for bankruptcy. And they had a bunch of retail stores, and we can talk about the whole retail is struggling, and everyone likes ordering stuff online. And I know I'm guilty of it too. A lot of times I'll say, well, if Fujoso miss, I need to pick up X, Y, or Z. I'm just going to stop out at lunch. And the response is, well, why don't we just order it and it'll show up in a day or worst case 2, and you don't have to go out any extra time. And I guess we'll do it that way. And it's just, and again, like it's, we can talk about, the pros and cons of shopping online versus shopping in person and all of that. And this is a very local story for me of this, a very iconic, when did they start here? 1955. The very first Bad Boy store was opened on Weston Road in Toronto. I'm not sure I should have looked up to see if that location had continued to this day. That would have been interesting. There's a couple of iconic Toronto stores that have like Honest Ed's. Again, this is very local Toronto, but that's fine. If you're not from the area, you're getting some local knowledge here. You can drop next time you're visiting, and you can really seem like a local. Also, Toronto, don't pronounce the second T. Although, again, Ben Affleck kind of ruined that for all of us because he didn't ruin it for us, but he mentioned it in the movie. Oh my goodness, I can't. Argo, thank you. Oof, if I blanked on that, that would have been embarrassing. We'd have to stop and record this whole thing. But I don't do that. This is all one take, as if we're streaming. Okay, so that's the local gaming dad Fujo topic of the day. Is Bad Boy out of business? It's end of an era, 1955 till 2023. It's hard. Yeah, they did a bunch of funny marketing stuff. They were always in your face. They were advertising. Apparently pretty popular, but just I personally, I don't know anyone who'd ever gone there. I know I've never shopped there, so maybe that's part of the reason why. Maybe. And we're gonna end off, and we're gonna talk. Oh, what other gaming dad topics are there? Of course, there's always the mobile gaming. Pokemon Go. The raids, there was a large group at my work that we played Pokemon Go quite a bit, and a bunch of people have slowly been leaving, and there's only a few of us left, but we still play. And we do our raids and stuff, but the raids in December were looking really weak. So one of my IRL friends, two of them told me about it, but there's a Monster Hunter Now, which is a mobile game, and I'm playing that now, and it's really interesting. It is super light Monster Hunter. I've played Monster Hunter on the 3DS a long time ago. I have the carts here. I played it on So I've played a lot of Monster Hunter. It's very Monster Hunter light. It's a very simplistic way to do it. It's you just tap to attack, and then you swipe for your rolls and stuff. But it's really cool. It's still RPG like, where you're leveling up, you're powering up your weapons, all this interesting stuff. So it's a really cool game. And yeah, I'm really getting into it. And like I said, Pokemon Go raids in December are looking bad. So I was like, I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna really focus on this. It's not that big of a deal for me. So boom, got some Monster Hunter Now. That's been interesting. We have, obviously, the big thing for going forward, Gaming Dad Fujo. We're going to be doing a bunch of World of Warcraft, Season of Discovery. Whatever the North American PvE server is, let's get leveled up and let's get some PvPing together. But I do it on a PvE server. I don't have time. Again, it's Gaming Dad Fujo hours. I don't have time to sit there and fight people. I need to be leveling up so I can do other stuff. I understand it's fun. No, all the power to you. You want to roll on a PvP server. You're going to deal with the consequences, the good and the bad. Sure, it's a lot of fun sometimes. I know it is. I've done it myself. And I know it's also really bad. I've experienced that as well. And that's fine. So we're going to end it there. Nice quick episode. We're back in it. We didn't talk about Ahsoka. Oh my goodness. We did not talk Star Wars. We're just going to leave it till next episode. You know what? We're not going back. I hope that you are safe wherever you are. Be good to each other. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.